think of how many times this year the ball is in the air and you have a sinking pit in your stomach because it's 3rd and 13 or, 4th and 5, and the defense has done something really well, and there's just this feeling that that a flag is coming. The Commanders got out-hit yesterday for the first time in a long time. I cannot remember, in fact, the last time that I was like, oh, they definitely got out-hit. Games like Pittsburgh and Baltimore were pretty even, but where you're just like, man, the Commanders are the nail, not the hammer on this day on the gridiron. It was really impressive by Philly, and Philly is not only talented in terms of how fast they are, but they are ball hawks. They get after it. They're trying to rake the ball out at every turn. The 4 turnovers are not an accident. So there's just a lot of really, really good stuff that the Eagles do, and the physicality that Washington aspires to. It's not like they played with none of it yesterday, but man, they did not get enough of what they normally get. And Philly was able to return the favor, and being able to go toe-to-toe with a team like that is ultimately the goal. And in some ways, it's good that they saw that laid out ahead of them because they know the level that they have to get to, because Philly's young. They're not going anywhere. This is a team that you're going to have to get through for years to come in the NFC.
Number 5.
Zach Ertz was freaking awesome yesterday, and Cliff Kingsbury did a great job of knowing where the weakness was in Philadelphia's defense, and that was with their middle linebacker, Oren Burks, who is a career special teams player who's playing for Nakobe Dean, who got hurt a couple of games ago. So with that injury, they had one matchup they could attack, and they went back to the well, back to the well, back to the well. And Jaden was fantastic in the middle of the field yesterday. I think about that ball he threw to Diami on the first drive, that 2nd and 16, where he just laces a beautiful tight window throw to Diami. And then they did a good job in big situations of getting man-to-man coverage for Ertz and letting him win. And Zach showed out. And Ertz today told reporters that he is not ready to retire. It kind of sounded like it after the game last night. There was like a finality to it, but he was just talking about the season apparently. He said he wants to come back. And he said last summer that he only wants to play for Cliff if he can help it. And he said yesterday after the game, he wishes he was 22 years old so he could play with Jaden the rest of his career. I'd bring Zach Ertz back. I think he's earned it. And I wouldn't necessarily wouldn't preclude me from finding another tight end or increasing Ben Sinnott's role in next year, because he's got to obviously produce more as a 2nd-round pick. But man, good job, Zach Ertz yesterday.
Number 6.
My only question was that at the expense of getting Terry McLaurin involved? That was as uninvolved in a game plan as Terry has felt in a long time. And I didn't love that, considering the game. Terry showed his worth on the touchdown pass, which, by the way, is a slant from the right side. It is only one of 8 snaps he took from the right. 40 of 48 snaps for Terry that were pass routes run, he did from the left side. Or actually, I think 40 or 48 snaps totally out in the game were snapped from the left side. Some of those numbers are a little affected by the fact that they're in some more hurry up than typical, like they're true hurry up, where they're not going to run guys across the field. They're just going to line up and go in their fastest version of their offense. And in that, Terry's on the left, and that's fine. But I would have liked to see a little bit more Terry in the slot, Terry getting touches early, and find ways to get him the football manufactured, because him getting the small number of targets he did, 3 yesterday, is just not going to work. It's just not going to work in the game plan moving forward. They've got to find ways to get their electric playmakers the ball, and they obviously didn't yesterday. So that was that.
Number 7.
Number 7 in the pick, or sorry, not in the pick 6, in the 1st and 10, because if it was pick 6, there wouldn't be a number 7. I would say that, or I would ask you simply to think of how many times this year the ball is in the air and you have a sinking pit in your stomach because it's 3rd and 13 or, 4th and 5, and the defense has done something really well, and there's just this feeling that that a flag is coming. That's too many times that you're thinking about, and that's kind of the point. This secondary has a knack for being unclutch, and Benjamin St. Juste, we talked about his unclutch gene throughout the season, but it's not just BSJ. Mikey, that I know people don't like that roughing call yesterday out of bounds, but it was the correct call. And Logan, who was on the field, didn't have a problem with it at the time. Is it a little soft? For sure. But technically it's correct. And apparently there's some picture floating around Twitter that proves that it was incorrect. It wasn't. I saw the video on the broadcast. If it shows Saquon Barkley in the air and Mikey hitting him, it's because one foot has already hit. It was very clear on the video that they showed on the broadcast yesterday. So at the end of the day, like that, the Marshon penalty, BSJ penalties throughout the year, Noah had some key ones. They had some roughing the passer penalties. Just the inability to just play within yourself on a third down is a killer situational awareness problem for specifically the secondary, but also this defense. And it's something that's got to be addressed next year. That's the one area of situational football where it's like you did everything right. You're in good position. Just don't pick up the flag. And then they did.
Number 8.
Special teams yesterday. Fumble from McNichols. Not good. That was apparently the thing that was enough to get Austin Eckler back on kickoffs. They needed a spark. They put Austin back there. We'll see what the future of that position is. They gave up a big return that put the Saquon run, quote-unquote, only at 60 yards. That probably would have been an 80-yarder anyway. But they do not acquit themselves well in the kick return game yesterday. The one special teams positive was Tress Way had that fake punt. That was awesome. Also, I was yesterday years old when I learned that Tress Way was right-handed. He's a left-footed punter who threw his trick play right-handed. I didn't know that. I've covered Tress Way for 10 years. Now I know. And so do you.
Number 9.
The Frankie Luvu thing at the goal line. Wacky bit. I don't know how much of it was a bit. I don't think it was actually. I think he was genuinely like, I'm going to, like, I don't know if he knew the rule that you can apparently be awarded a score on offense, which, by the way, is a good rule because at some point there's diminishing returns. It's like teams that do a hard count on the goal line when they're backed up. If you get the other team to jump, then you get 5 yards and get out of your own end zone. If your team jumps or you even pick up a delay of game and they move the ball back an inch, it doesn't matter. So there's got to be a repercussion. And so Frankie's like, well, if I mistime this, I'm just going to we're just going to move the ball another half inch. Who cares? And so we all learned that together. I think it was kind of hilarious, but it was also annoying. And by the way, I don't know that it actually was smart because there was a minute of game clock that went out because the game clock was running that entire time, which leads us to
number 10.
The refs. We've done a lot of ref number 10s this year in our 1st and 10, and I want to be clear. The refs did not cost Washington the game yesterday. I'd also like to be clear that the refs made some bad calls in some big spots, important spots, where the game was still in the balance yesterday. And the fact that the Eagles are 7-0 now with Shawn Hochuli, I think has a lot more to do with the fact that the Eagles are really good at football than it does Shawn Hochuli giving games to the Eagles. But he has also made a number of the questionable calls. I have never left a Shawn Hochuli game being like, that guy's a good official. And I have no idea why he was refereeing the NFC Championship game. So the holds that get missed, some of the calls that get made downfield, obviously those are not his, those are his crew. The Mikey call on the sideline is very hit or miss. But also, go watch the Buffalo game. The Chiefs, I know the Chiefs have a whole officiating scandal that people think that they get all the calls too, but like the 4th down thing, they just got too many calls that are bad, and it was all season long. And I was one of the highlights of my weekend was getting the ESPN news alert that the expanded replay system is going to be, or the instant replay, the super quick, hey, we looked in New York and overturned and got a call correct, is going to be expanded because some of these things feel like they should be able to be fixed very quickly because they're blatantly obviously missed. And being right is the point. That said, again, the Commanders did not lose the game because of the officials. The officials also, I think it was the 2-point conversion, could have easily called a legal man downfield. They did not. So there's calls that went Washington's way too. It's just the ones that are on the big plays that go against you that as a fan hurt the most. And I get that, which is why referees should be doing a better job, if it is at all humanly possible, to not miss calls in the first place.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.